Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with a review of the Shuriken Sentai Ninninger Ninnin Action Figures, or I don't know if Action Heroes, or they're basically the Action Hero figures. If you can't tell, there's something very familiar about these guys, and it's the fact that these guys are using the Action Hero mold from our American Power Rangers line that we've been using for the past 2 years now. So yeah, I think they're called Ninnin Action Figure. I don't know, the title will be right. I always get lost with these things, because I am stupid. But anyway, before we jump into all that, let's take a look at the spectacular packaging, which really isn't that spectacular. There's really nothing special about it. They're all very similar. It's just this kind of very cheap packaging, clear plastic. You got a cool picture of each ranger in the back there. Says the name of it. And then on the back, just shows a little advertisement of what the figure is, what it comes with, and the other ones in the line. Nothing too really, like I said, spectacular. Our packaging is cooler for those type of things. At least I think. They're all three the same except for the individualized ranger. But yeah, that's it for the packaging. Now we can just get on to the rest of the boring part of the review now that the thrilling part's over. Okay, so yes, these are the same exact mold that they are using, and we actually used it here, which is really cool. I love the Action Hero mold. I'm glad we have figures of these, because these can either essentially be a really super early sneak preview at these figures if we get a Ninja adaptation, and if we don't, we get Action Heroes of at least some of them. So that's cool. I guess we'll start with Red, because he's usually where people start with things. So like I said, same exact mold as the Action Heroes, which are very solidly detailed. I think they're very good looking figures. They got good details on them all around. I'm not using my turntable because I sporadically use it and not use it. I don't know what my method is for that, but for whatever reason today I decided not to. We'll get a closer look here too. Some of them on various parts have little paint nicks, which is annoying. That's one bad thing about ordering online. Like if and when these come to America, I'll be able to sift through them in the store and say, oh look, that one's got a silver streak right there. I don't want that one. But other than that, which is kind of annoying because you can't pick and choose, they do have very good details. I like them. I like this mold. The articulation is the same as the other Action Heroes. So you have a nice hinge joint here, 360 movement, elbow joint, swiveling here. You can move his head around here, 360, not really up and down movement. No articulation at the waist. You have a nice little joint here on his leg. Great range of motion. Single knee joint, the swiveling. So all that typical stuff you get. Now, before we continue on with other things, I just want to point out something right at the beginning here. So ever since these figures were announced, you get those purists that are like, oh man, we're using Bandai of America trash. These figures are so muscly. Shut up. These figures are not too muscly. I get that you're all puristy about it, but take a look at this guy. Let's look at him right now. Look at him right now. Let's look at his build. Let me introduce you to this guy here. This is too muscly. Now, I know he's not wider this way, but his muscle sculpt is way too much, has way too much definition compared to this one. These figures, yes, the Rangers are not this muscly on the show, but these guys, this mold, the Action Hero mold we've been using since Super Mega Force, is just more toned than anything. Yes, they are more muscly than the regular suits, but they are nowhere near this. Back in, the old days of Power Rangers figures, we went from really weird looking mutants to from in space through Overdrive, we went on a variation of a very muscly mold. I think we changed it up a few times because it got a little more articulated, but up through Overdrive, we had things like this where it was way too obvious. These are not nearly as obvious, so I guess I just don't understand why people are having such an extreme reaction to the amount of muscle on the figures when this is what we used to have, which if this was happening now, I would get it, because this is way obvious. The chest is practically sticking out like breasts. It's way too defined, and these are just more toned. If you want the skinny ones, go for the figure arts, but they're not really making those anymore. They're making one every 5 years or something. But I'm just saying, I like these. I mean, you have a right to not like it being a little more muscly, but I just think that the extreme reaction is way too much for how much other figures like that one, or even the armor figures, which aren't in the Japanese line. And then also, just to prove it, here is Dino Charge Black Chase, because this episode aired this weekend. I figured it was appropriate, and he was also the one standing up the straightest. But yeah, you can see the same identical mold Yeah, all right, I just wanted to go on that rant at the very beginning, just get all my frustration out. I'll probably rant again later. All right, and so they each come with individual weapons. I'm not going to take it out since they all have one, but they all come with the Ichobanto, which are just like weapons we get here, all solid one-color mold, no individualized design there on the Shuriken. And then they each have a different form of this weapon, the Kakuri Hengen, I think? I don't know, they haven't talked about it much, and I'm terrible with names. Seriously, out of like all 3 Toku shows that are on right now, I only know like 3 people's names. But this is like the blade stabby stab version. That's a technical term. Write that down. And then they also each have a frog gun. And they're all the frog gun and the Ichibantos are same across the board, and then they each have a different form of the Kakuri Hengen, which is like the trans dagger. So that's what it reminds me of, at least. So blue comes with the bow, so he can be like, you have failed this Ninnin, failed this Ninny. I don't know what he's doing with his life. And then he has the claw version. The claw. You could do like the claw from Toy Story, or you can do the claw from Liar Liar. It's choose your own adventure here. Okay. Now we have AoNinger, Blue Ranger. Also, I think very nicely done. You can see that at the very tip of his helmet, there's a little blue smudge, like, smudges I was talking about. Whenever I do this, like when I do a pan like this, when I'm going down, it looks like the figure's about to fall over. That might just be me, but yeah. Once again, like I said, very nicely detailed. I like these figures a lot. I think they're good representations. They each also have their individualized shuriken shape on there. They're not like individualized with design, but the shape on the sides is designed. The same articulation applies for this one, so I don't need to go over it. There's his frog gun, which is identical to the other frog guns I just showed you. Alright, and then we have Kininger. Like I said, he's holding the claw weapon, which is his individualized version. Let's do a pan of him. And then a Giru and a Trunks, and then a Goku, Kid Goku. So then we can just do Dragon Ball GT. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. Then there's his individualized little shurikens on the side. There's his backside. But yeah, if you're familiar with the action hero figures from Power Rangers, you'll know what you're getting here. And like I said, I really do like this mold a lot. I really like these figures a lot. I think it's neat that if we get Ninninger, we're getting like an early version of the figures, like I said. And if for whatever reason they decide to skip it, we'll have these. Now, I don't know how much more we'll see of these. It's hard to tell, because these, even though that's very different from what they've done before in terms of releasing a straight-up action figure like this, because at least from my experience in Sentai, they don't tend to do action figures all that much. They usually have like one or a couple of something along this line at the very beginning, and then they never touch it again. They just don't seem to be that into action figures compared to as we are here, at least in certain toy lines. But this, despite these being very different, they fit in the category of things like last year's line change figures from Tokyuger, or the Dinner Chaser figure from Kyoryuger, or the Go Busters one with a bike, in that they released a sort of action figure at the very beginning of the series wave, and then after that they never do anything again. They never touch it. I can't think of one recently where they released one later. I would like to see that stop. I would love to get Girls of the Figures. Wait, Figures of the Girls. I think that's right. I think that would be neat. Because Shuriken Ninjas might be my favorite design, so I would love for that to happen. I'm not saying it's a never thing, but based on past experience, we probably won't. If they're premium Bandai, I would buy the hell out of them. At the very least, I'd like to see a Star Ninja later, so I'm not sure how much more of these we'll get later, but even though it's an incomplete team, I can recommend these. Just like the action heroes we get here, they are really nice figures, nicely designed, decent articulation. They make really nice shelf pieces, and if you don't care necessarily right now about being able to get the whole team, I can recommend them. They're really nice figures, just like the ones we get here. But anyway, that's about it. Until next time, make sure you check out the Crazy Podcast at writersrangersrambles.com. And of course, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Until next time, it's Dawson Ryder, signing out.